we stay informed and true, navigating the rules together.
Hey guys, it's Joel with Coreware. Welcome to episode 2. Yeah, I counted the first one as an episode of Compliance COREner. Today, Tony's going to give us his take on some recent rulings and how these rulings may affect you and your business. So Tony, how you been, man, since our last video so long ago?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Joel, doing well.
So tell us, Tony, what are some recent rulings that kind of piqued your interest in regards to some items that may not be illegal anymore?
Yeah, there's been a couple, and I think we talked about these briefly at the last the trade show we were at. But most recently, SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, made a ruling that did away with the bump stock ban. So that's available now. I just earlier today, or was it late yesterday, saw a dealer out there advertising bump stocks to ship. So that's exciting. We've also had the arm brace rule not long ago. I think that was middle of June. That ruling going through the courts in Texas got vacated. So that right now has gone away. And then just a few days ago, July 23rd, I believe it was, another ruling out of the Texas courts, the National Association for Gun Rights versus Merrick Garland. This one was in reference to the force reset triggers. So if you don't know what a force reset trigger is, it's kind of a drop-in trigger for, say, something like an AR style rifle. And it's got a mechanism in it that will allow the trigger to return to its reset position slightly faster. But still requires you to pull the trigger to fire another round. So what commonly happens with manufacturers when they create a new product, and if you're not certain where that product might lie between, say, Title I firearms versus NFA firearms and how those regulations might affect that product, they commonly will send a sample into the ATF, to the Firearms and Technology Division. You'll commonly hear it referred to as FAT-D. And what they do, the ATF would take those samples, test it, make a determination, and say, hey, here's where it falls. So what happened in the past with forced reset triggers is there was originally determination of this is fine, this would be Title I, this doesn't cause any issues with NFA, it's not a machine gun. Well, they later on came back and changed that determination and says, hey, now these, or at least some of them, depending on the manufacturer, are now considered machine gun parts, and that creates a de facto ban on them based on the NFA laws that are in place and so forth. So that turned into a lawsuit against the ATF. I think it was last year. There was an injunction to prevent enforcement or anything, but just a few days ago, courts out of Texas made a ruling to completely vacate that determination, vacate that ruling. So that now that ruling determining that the forced reset triggers, or FRTs, as they're commonly referred to, that is now gone away. Now, in the future, could the ATF appeal that? Yes, they could. Could they appeal on the lawsuit with the arm brace? They could. Good news is the district court, the Fifth Circuit that oversees Texas, has largely ruled in favor of the 2A community on these. So there's a very good chance we'll see these vacations stand.
Mm-hmm. I love vacations, man. I love a good vacation. Hey, so I do want to bring this up because this brings up this kind of highlights a really important point about, you as retailers out there. You probably have some of this stuff still sitting in your back room, right? Maybe some stuff that people were too afraid to buy at one time. If you were utilizing our solutions, back then, maybe like Gorilla, where you could build some sort of a customer profile builder where they tell you the type product they're interested in. When these things happen, you can immediately communicate with those customers. Hey, I know you were interested in this in the past. The ruling was vacated. We are going to have a blowout sale on arm braces and bump stocks. So come on in and get them while you can. It's a really good thing to be doing because all this stuff, Tony, changes. So like it doesn't feel like we're on solid ground. It's like we're in California and we've got an earthquake every 48 hours when it comes to rulings and and all this stuff. So,
and it's not only that. If we look at the last couple years, there's been so many rule changes and updates and new laws passed. It's been a whirlwind the last couple of years. It really has been. But the other thing, what I really like when we look at these types of rulings and the directions they are going, where we've seen with a lot of ATF determinations and rule changes where a product is one thing one day and the next day it's something else and back and forth. What I'm really hoping the trend that continues is that these rulings force some more consistency in that and get, kind of forces the ATF to get less of this back and forth and kind of figure that out to something a little bit more standardized.
right. And that's why we're here at Compliance Corner. That's why we're bringing you this, because obviously it's a hard subject to follow. Tony's here. He's got his ear to the track. He's listening. He's paying attention to things that probably are too boring for you to pay attention to because you're trying to get product moved out of your shop. So make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that bell for notifications so that you're notified whenever we put one of these masterpieces out. Tony, I know that our next Compliance Corner, we're going to briefly talk about the 5 deadly sins, correct?
Yes, and we want to touch on these again, especially starting a session like this. As positive, I want to think as these rulings are going, we've got to remember, since that executive order of no tolerance, we still kind of have these deadly sin things hovering over our heads, and we still want to watch those. We still want to be mindful of them. We don't want to get too caught up in our excitement for the positive rulings, and we definitely want to keep an eye on these things and keep all our dealers and everybody alert and aware.
Right. So that's what Tony's going to be doing in the next episode. We are also going to dig in a little bit further into that subject matter in a future webinar. So this will be kind of a little hors d'oeuvres, right, for this kind of thing. And the main dish will be a webinar where we really dive into those deadly sins and revocable offenses. I said revocable right. Didn't even think about it. I said it right.
You did.
That is
Proud
so
of you.
cool. I'm taking the rest of the day off. No, seriously, Tony, thank you so much for joining us, man. This is really great. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're able to bring this insight, because I'm telling you, man, when you hear ATF, you either get your brain goes dead, your eyes glaze over, or your hair stands up on your arm in this industry, because it's like, we don't know what we're dealing with. So to have somebody here that can kind of walk us through all the innuendo and whatever it is that they're doing, it's really good, and it should be a comfort to a lot of our dealers out there. So in the future, we're gonna dive into more of this subject matter. If you've got anything that you would like to know more about, drop it in the description, or not the description. I'm going to drop the description in the description. You're going to drop the whatever you want to hear about in the comments. So let us know if you want us to cover anything in particular. Tony would be happy to do it. I know I'm speaking for Tony, but he's promised to do one of these every week. So we're going to see how that goes. Anyway, Tony, any closing words? You got to have some good closing words.
Oh, I don't know if I have good closing words. This is going to be an ongoing conversation, I think.
It will be. And it's not going to be as boring as you just made it sound. It's not going to be that boring. This is going to be fun. We're going to have a great time. We're going to learn a lot, and we're just going to be safe, right? Because that's all we want to do. We want you guys to move as much product as possible, as fast as possible. We want you all to be, standing in line to buy the G4. G4 is the plane. The G4. Are we up to G5s now? I am so old. I'm so old. No, seriously, thank you guys so much for watching this second episode of Compliance Corner. And with that, I think we'll see you in the next video. Right, Tony?
Yep, absolutely. We'll be here.
See you guys later.
Take care.
Welcome to the Compliance Corner, where we stay informed and true, navigating the rules together to keep our freedom shining.